I always tell people we're not a brewery. We're not a distillery. We have those licenses. We're not a restaurant. We have that license. We're not defined by these things. We're a space that just happens to make our own beer, happens to make our own rum, happens to have a chef in the back that's running his own kitchen. I just think it's easier to not be conformed whenever your space is fluid, as opposed to being structured as one thing.
Well, this is interesting because I get to welcome into the studio. I think it's a legend who I actually didn't know was a legend until I started research. But Jim Owens with Brick Box, you've been around, for a while here.
Very much, very Tucson downtown active for quite some time.
Well, we got connected through Brian Dahl, the guy who dances on Congress, and he told me just recently that I think he first met you at Flycatcher.
Yeah. So I did music for years, still do music, but kind of got my start here in Tucson doing music. I moved here when I was 18, and that was 2002. And just kind of came down here. My brother lived here at the time and wanted to pursue music. And that's kind of, I got my start down here playing at Scrappy's when it was down behind Rialto Theatre.
Still kind of there.
Yeah.
It looks very much like a Scrappy.
We poke our head in every once in a while. It's a great space. It's a reminder to me of kind of how I got started here in town with Kathy, the lady that ran it. She gave us a lot of opportunity and stuff. And then after that, we played a lot of like Heart 5 and Vaudeville, and then, Flycatcher, which was Plush prior to that. So quite a lot of time doing music and being involved down here in Tucson.
So you were performing?
Yeah, so I had a rap group, still have for years, and that's kind of how I got my feet wet.
Okay.
Being downtown at the venues and things like that.
So when you were 18, you moved here. Where were you before this?
So I grew up originally in New Mexico. I'm from Oklahoma, but I grew up on the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico. Okay. Outside of Gallup, New Mexico. But yeah.
And your brother's musical too, so
so we were all from small town, so he moved here and started. He was a DJ, very interested in DJing for like rap groups and stuff like that. He started DJing with a group here called Red Dirt Specimen, which was one of the first rap groups here in town to win. Back then it was called the Tammy, which was a Tucson Weekly Award they used to give away. He got involved with them, and whenever it was time for me to decide what to do with my beginning of my adult life, college, I wasn't very studious. It wasn't the move for me, and I wanted to pursue music. So I moved down here to join my brother in his pursuit of doing music, and that's kind of how I ended up here.
Fantastic. Was it, I'm just curious, because from my standpoint, when I moved to Tucson, it was, I'm only going to be here for a short time and then move on. Did you know you're moving here, or was this just sort of a stop on the way and you forgot to leave?
I always tell, I knew I was coming here. To me, Tucson, either Tucson's for you or it's not. I've always believed that.
Yeah.
It was for me for the moment I got here. I think being from a small space most of my life, or all of my life, this was just big enough for me, but it also wasn't so overwhelming I couldn't get my foot in the door. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of a great place for me to not have a lot of resources, but to be able to generate some opportunity. So I saw that very early on when I got here.
I think that describes we refer to it as the biggest little town, or little's biggest town, but that's exactly right. I think it presents the right opportunity for so many people, and I fit into that category. I don't do well. I like a city. I like the urban life. Yeah, but I also like it in a more controlled environment than maybe one of the larger cities.
And I think too that's a big thing for me, where here there was always, if I liked some aspect of the city or some part of what the city had to offer, I could stick around it long enough and become a part of it. Mm-hmm. A lot of places, I don't know if there's that much of a variety of things to do and interests to have that you can pursue. And actually, we're at that weird tipping point, right? Where like if you love to make hobby horses or gumball machines and you really bust your butt and do a good job at making them, Tucson's the kind of place where you could actually export those out of, run your whole business, and do very well. It's affordable to be here, and it kind of has been. So yeah, I just, the city, I found an affinity for it, and I know it's not for everybody, but that's what I liked. It is the biggest little city I was cool with being at.
Right. It's interesting to me when I talk to people. A lot of times this is a stop along the way, and then they fall in love with it. So it's nice that when you hit that, you recognize this is someplace I want to build. I want to be a part of.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are coming from places where there's some similar opportunities and things. You know, and as weird as it sounds, I love the urban decay that Tucson held when I moved here in the early 2000s. There was this I don't know what you want to call it, post-war machine, suburbia that had built up around the Davis Monthan out there, that when I moved there was kind of closing down. And it's just an interesting, it was almost like this bubble had happened in the city, and then it had come back down. And to be here now at this point, whenever I feel like there's another motion of the bubbling happening, it's just an interesting space.
Yeah. So are you sad now that the bubble's happening
No,
again?
not at all. I'm
Okay.
very much along for the ride. I think that there's something to, it's the guy that buys the old barn and then turns it into a
Got
barn.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you've been able to see this whole progression, and now and now really to be a part of it. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit here, and we'll fill in the gap. But you now are part of that revitalization because you and your partner, you bought in. You didn't just say, hey, let's see what's happening. You're like, let's go invest and make it happen.
Yeah, I think so. I was with Thunder Canyon for quite some time. They had bought down here in when the streetcar had been built.
Yep.
Or was prior to it getting built. And there was this moment of like, oh, this stuff's about to pop. And so a lot of investment was starting to happen down here. And the company I worked for, the gentleman, Steve Tracy, had the foresight to purchase his property when he did, get his business going. But it fell on some difficult times with getting, things up and moving. Because of things, the streetcar took a little longer to get built than they expected. And
when the streetcar was being built, it was a obstacle.
Yes.
It was shutting everything down. And you're
right in front of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Thunder Canyon Brewery is right there. So you probably had a big fence in front of your.
Yeah.
You're like,
that was our first year.
Don't come in here.
Yeah. So it was, going through all that with them. Honestly, we just got to a point where it was 23 years for Thunder Canyon. It was a Tucson started business up in the Foothills Mall. Provided jobs and opportunity for tons of people here in the city, and
also provided some good beers.
Yeah, Steve Tracy was the highest awarded Great American Beer Festival recipient, possibly as an individual in the state.
I didn't know that.
If not just here in the city for sure for quite some time. He had 13, I believe, by the time he retired.
Wow,
which is a really amazing feat.
Yeah, that's...
So he had his time with it. It was his company. It's what he loved. But I had been there 12, 13 years. Shoot, more than that. Maybe 15 years, whatever it was. And I had been a big part of that, and
Sure.
I really enjoyed watching the company grow and morph and turn it.
And your role was as like the general manager, so you were like involved with all the aspects.
So I started there as a busser. So my first day I went in and bussed tables, and they gave me $50 cash and 3 free beers and some chicken fingers. And I was a traveling musician at the time.
You're like, I hit the jackpot.
I said, you know what? I think I just come back from a 30-city tour, no money in my pocket, and I thought, I'm going to just do this for a little while and see what happens. And then flash forward, way later, I moved up to serving, to bartending, to managing. And then the last 6 years prior to us buying it, I was a general manager, brand manager for the company. And I think a lot of that had to do with just I didn't have a business background. My background was in music, and service was something I've been doing a long time. And I think kind of what made what I was doing work is that I didn't have anything keeping me from doing weird stuff. And I've always thought that the Tucson, especially downtown Tucson, was kind of unique and strange and quirky. So I set out really when we rebranded Thunder Canyon under my guidance it was to be weird and to do weird stuff, and it'd be more of a community space. Mm-hmm. And we did that for quite some time. We ended up getting back on our feet and really rebranding quite a bit.
Well, and to have the trust of an owner that allows you to do that, they've got a formula that's worked for so long, and here comes this guy that wants to do weird stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to put a wrestling ring in the middle of the floor.
Yeah,
I'm going to do, hardcore shows. Yeah. I think, I give a lot of credit to him for having the foresight to see that I had some sort of a vision. And then, beginning of 2024, that flash forward, that's when he decided he was ready to retire. Mm-hmm. It'd been 23 years. And, I talked with my partner and I said, hey, look, I don't like brewing beer. I don't have any desire to do that. Love drinking the stuff, but I'm not really big on making it because it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. If you learn that part, I'll cover this other part that I've been doing for quite some time.
Your partner's Michael.
Nixon. Yeah, Michael Nixon.
Yeah. So was he also at Thunder
So he
Canyon,
was there. So initially, I'd started talking to him about like, hey, I think this is something we're going to try to do. So if you can learn how to brew from, this great resource that we have, then I think we might be able to take a crack at opening our own thing. Mm. So he pretty much mentored under Steve for about 2 years, learning how to do everything. And then when we finally had the discussion, I kind of just was like, one day I was like, hey, man, I've got this LLC. You're actually going to be a partner in it now. So
surprise,
there's not much you could say. And it really was a conversation of, within 30 minutes, me just making a decision like I do a lot and just going like, hey, me and you are going to be partners on this. You're going to own a brewery in a couple of months. This is what we're doing. Grace of God, we were able to get everything lined up and happen. Really just a miracle, and I'm not really sure how it all happened. So I've just been holding on and pushing forward the entire time.
Well, it's been over a year. I think April 24 is when the official rebranding, which I think my favorite part was between the Thunder Canyon and what it is now Brick Box. For a brief period, it was like a Spirit Halloween store,
the Halloween store. That was my buddy Pike's idea. We were joking about it. We either were going to do a mattress farm or a Halloween store, but we were just kind of joking about how every time something we like closes, the next year it's a Spirit Halloween store for a couple of months, So, it was, we started the company with zero outside investment. We both put everything we had into it. Luckily, he was crazy enough to say yes.
Where does the name come from?
So I spent a long time trying to figure out a brand, right? I grew up really idolizing branding that was done in a correct way. One of my favorite things is a group called Wu-Tang Clan, mm-hmm. and they utilized, they call it their Wu Bird, but it was just this image you would see.
Sure.
It was similar to like the Batman logos. Mm-hmm. When you see it, you know what it is.
Right. So
that stuck with me from a young age. I always wanted to make sure that the branding on things, if I wanted to be bigger than life, I had to make that image, that ambiguous. It could be any amount of things. So I just thought about it for a long time. It's physically a giant box of bricks. Red brick in Tucson has always been downtown to me.
Yeah.
A lot of the buildings.
Yeah.
It's also the one house that the big bad wolf couldn't blow down.
Okay.
So after all these years being involved, our model is that we're still here. And, it may not be pretty and it may not be what everybody thinks that it should be, but we're still here, and I'm still here.
You can huff and puff, but you're not going to blow us down.
Not going anywhere.
Beautiful.
So that's kind of, and then Brick Box too, I think was, if it's in New York, if it's in LA, if it's in Denton, Texas, if it's in Iowa, Brick Box isn't struck to being one location.
Right, I get you.
It's very difficult to open Saguaro Brewery in, New Haven or whatever, so I think I wanted to make it something that had the ability to grow and have legs, and we're not just a brewery, so I wanted to make sure we left some room open for that.
And we're going to have to talk more about the expansion on a different show, but I want to talk about what you just said, which is we're not just a brewery, because the thing that attracted me most when I wanted to schedule this interview was, I knew your history with Thunder Canyon, I knew Thunder Canyon, I knew the beer, but you really have created a community space.
Yeah,
with Brick Box, and this idea of a stage that is easily rentable and accessible. I think for a musician, that to me is brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was less of an idea, more of a need. You know, and like I think that there's moments in time where you see a window of like, hey, or you see something not doing well, and you're like, hey, I can water this plant a little bit more; it'll do better. You know, and I really feel like when I moved here, there were so many venues downtown that were, 100 below, 200 below spaces, and when you booked them, you hit up the old, cranky bartender. Or like, hey, Joe, I need to play on Saturday. I got this punk show I got to do. And Joe would say, cool, we got it open. Be here, whatever. And that's how I saw some of the best shows I'd see that I really enjoyed when I was younger.
Thank heavens for cranky bartenders.
Cranky bartenders. But so, seeing that, right? And seeing those places close, Flycatchers, the District, all those places that were there providing those stages. That's whenever I kind of had a moment of maybe I'll just do a little one and see what that looks like. And sure enough, within the first 6-7 months of me doing that, I was booked out for 6 or 7 months. So I knew there was kind of that hole in it, right?
And you're flexible too, from what I understand. Like the pricing it's based upon different like you can structure your show differently.
I think that our job there is to provide a space for you to make your vision come to life, whatever that looks like. If you come and do a free show with us, so that means no one gets charged at the door. We give you a 10% payout. So if we make $1,000, you make $100. Now I understand that's not a lot of money, but also you haven't come out of pocket for anything. We provide sound for free. The Rialto last year donated their side fills to us. So we now have a very capable sound system that was donated by the Rialto Theatre.
I have to take a quick pause and ask my producer here, what is a side fill?
So if you stand on stage and you're an artist,
yeah,
there's stacks of speakers on the sides.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
So it's like a monitor system.
Okay, I got you.
So they gave that to us, which is more than we would ever need.
I did see that in there. That's a massive.
Yeah,
that's a massive.
Huge. Yeah. Like the last person to play on that was Kenny G. So we're like, cool, we got a professional.
I hope the first one to play at Cheers was Punk.
Yeah, we evened it out. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I think, long story short, we do that payout, right? We provide sound for free. If you need to make money and you have a big artist come and they need to get paid, we will keep the bar and we'll give you 100% of the door if you run it. So that means if you did $10 tickets, right, and 10 people show up, you make $100, which is the equivalent to our free show of $1,000, right? So, and there's sky's the limit with that. You can make a lot more money depending on, you can do a $30 ticket there if it's somebody really wants.
Do you have to pay for the stage?
Nope. We provide everything for free to you. The only thing that we do not cooperate with or we're not interested in is pay to play whenever you charge artists to play on the show. I know that that's how a lot of people run their businesses. If they do that, then we charge them to be there. Basically, house is going to get its money before you do. So if you're charging artists $20 to get on the show, and then you have 5 artists, I'm going to take a percentage of that, a hefty percentage of that, because I'm the one paying for the lights, I'm the one giving the sound. Mm-hmm. So it's really kind of built to discourage that.
Yeah. So if you're doing a show, charge the door, and you don't charge your artists.
Yeah. Then everybody wins. Okay. So it's kind of a way. I did music for a long time, and that was how business was always done, where everybody gets a piece, everybody eats, and there's no reason to cut anybody out. And so we just realistically providing a space for artists, whatever art they choose, to have the freedom to create without being, charged or stuck for what they're doing. And that's just on the art end. We do a lot of other, events and things like that. I think that the big thing for me was when we opened, I always tell people we're not a brewery, we're not a distillery, we have those licenses. We're not a restaurant, we have that license. We're not defined by these things. We're a space that just happens to make our own beer, happens to make our own rum, happens to have a chef in the back that's running his own kitchen. I just think it's easier to not be conformed whenever your space is fluid, as opposed to being structured as one thing. And I'm not one thing. I'm a very diverse person, and so is my partner, and we both believe growing and continuing to change and pivot is the only way that we're going to stay alive. So that's kind of where our focus is at, is being available, backed by the community, but also able to change at any given moment. So.
Well, Jim Owens, it's Brick Box. People can check out your website,
brickboxbrewery.com.
Okay, and we're going to have you back because we didn't even get into how you've been incubating the restaurants and everything
Sure.
else. So I appreciate your time, appreciate you doing it downtown, and appreciate all the experience you're putting into it. And it's been a pleasure to hang out with you today.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you so much for having me.